What?
You should say that for the intro.
I'm not going to say that for the intro. Hey everybody, welcome back to this random journey. Today I'm going to be taking you along with me as I clean my kitchen. So we're going to just start out. I hope that you guys can understand the mess that's happening in there, because you probably have the same problem I have. So the problem I have is we go through the weekend, and all weekend things just kind of pile up and it gets kind of crazy in there. Dishes pile up because we're busy. So you're gonna see my kitchen after the massive weekend clutter up. So I call this my Monday kitchen reset. So it's because the weekend is just crazy and it does pile up. And you probably have this problem too, or if you don't, maybe you just have some dishes in the sink that need to be washed. So let's get into the kitchen and start cleaning. And here we go. We're in the kitchen and I'm getting some of the dishes that I had previously done put away. While I was doing the dishes today, I had the kids. They were in the living room eating their lunch at the card table. We haven't quite got that new table yet, but that is definitely something we are talking about. So I'm just going to quickly try to get some of these dishes done. Dishes tend to pile up so fast at our house. I will be doing the dishes and a random dish will just seem to appear out of nowhere. And I'm like, what in the world? I can't believe this. Where did this dish come from? And one of the kids may have used it for a snack or what have you, but dishes just pile up so fast. I'm sure you probably have this problem as well, with dishes just continually being put on the counter, whether somebody's getting a snack or what. So the kids were finishing up lunch and I was also doing their dishes. And what I like to do is when I'm doing dishes is the ones that have a lot of like crusties and that's really dirty and really hard to clean, I go ahead and put those in the sink and kind of let them soak as I'm cleaning things that are easier. So you'll notice probably that I pick up the dishes that my son brought in and clean those before I clean some of the older stuff, and that's why I'm letting some of that older stuff just kind of soak in the bottom of the sink so that it's easier to let loose and get clean. This spatula is a very good example of that. I didn't let it soak long enough and I'm having to really work and scrub, but if you let that soak in the water, it's just going to come right clean and not be a problem. Now that it is summertime and the kids, I have all three kids home all the time, there's even more dishes now, more than back whenever my son was in school, because he's also contributing to the dish pile up that's happening. But of course this was the weekend and that's a normal thing anyway, but I'm just talking about in general, there's more dishes now in summertime than there was. So there's always a pile of dishes. So I'm going to just get these dishes dried off. As you can tell, I have to dry dishes and then put away those dishes before I can wash more dishes. It's a vicious cycle, I know. If I keep up on the dishes, it's not a big deal. I have plenty of space to put a load of dishes, like from one meal, on this drying rack, on my little side rack that's on that sink there. But because this is like a whole weekend worth of dishes, which is kind of sad to say, but it is, it's going to take me multiple times of washing, drying, putting away, washing, drying, putting away. So it's kind of one of those things. That was my son coming in. He actually was outside mowing the yard, and so you'll probably notice that I look out the window a lot. I got the little kids out there. They're picking up toys in the yard, and then he was getting the key to the shed so that he could get the lawnmower out to mow, and then he was going to weed eat and do some outdoor chores. I really like my new sink. If you didn't know, we're in the middle of a remodel, and that's why I don't have like countertops and all that kind of fun stuff and trim around my windows. But this is a new sink, and it's all one big compartment, and I can fit my big pans and cookie sheets like that down into it and wash them very easily. Whereas before it was like this huge chore, and it was almost like a trick trying to get them washed, and I'd usually get water everywhere and it was a big mess. We have a lot of travel coffee cups, and there's a couple different reasons for that. My husband takes coffee on the go with him every day, as well as whenever we go to church, we usually have coffee mugs, and then we also sometimes will use them as a smoothie cup. So not just coffee, but also for our smoothie. You saw me patting the water off of the edge there. This sink is not attached to this counter yet because this is not an actual counter. This is our old counter. It's just sitting there temporarily until we get our new counter. So I can't let the moisture get down underneath that sink. Otherwise it could ruin our new cabinets, and that would be a very, very sad thing. I am absolutely loving our new cabinetry. It's these drawers that pull out. I love being able to get to everything easily. Definitely is recommended from me if you're thinking about redoing your kitchen to consider going with some drawers. They are so handy, can get to everything that's at the very back very easily. Highly recommended. We're gonna move into the living room where the kids was eating their lunch and clean off the table really quick. Take a break from doing those dishes because it's like monotony, just over and over the same thing. So we're going to clean off this table. I had my daughter come in, get some stuff of hers off there, and just give it a really good wipe down, getting all those stuck on bits that you know, tend to get on there, and all the little crumbs. Back into the kitchen now to put away some of those dishes that were drying. So I think this is what, our second load now of dishes. That tells you how far behind I was. Yes, I know. I hope there's other people out there that was that far behind too after the weekend. Maybe it's just because we were so busy, but it just tends to pile up, and I'm sure that you understand, right? In our kitchen right now, nothing really has a home. You can see me kind of putting things away where they're supposed to go, but that's not necessarily where they're gonna stay. I have been trying to bring in tubs since doing the kitchen remodel and putting things away, trying to find a home for everything. So not everything's where it's gonna be. I'm trying to figure that out still. Right now I am washing out or rinsing out the container from our greens, like a spring mix type of salad, and we are washing that out and cleaning that out. Usually we recycle that or use it as a scrap bucket for a while. But here I'm actually going to repurpose that for some fresh greens that I have washed in the fridge, and it would just be a nice container to be able to see, okay, I have fresh greens. I'm going to go ahead and clean my cast iron. I have in a previous video kind of explained how I do that. It's just plain water with a little scrubby brush until we get all the big particles off, onto the stove for some heat to dry it out. Then you turn off the heat, oil it, and let it sit until it's completely cooled. I had things trying to fall off here, and I kept on having to reposition them because it just was kind of piling up because I had that big container over there. Eventually I'll get that container off of there and be able to have some more space.
My husband really likes his big tumbler. He uses that for smoothies a lot. It's really handy. He actually says he likes using it better than some of the other cups we have in the house. And we are thinking about replacing some of our orange plastic cups, which I think you can see one sitting there kind of teetering on the other side of the drying rack. We've been thinking about getting rid of those. First of all, I don't really like drinking out of them. I don't know why, it's just my preference, I guess. I would rather drink out of a glass jar or a glass cup of some sort. So I'm thinking about maybe drinking with mason jars for a while just to test it out. What do you guys think? Do you think mason jars would make a good cup to be able to drink out of? Do you already do that? Is it something that I should consider? So now it is time. I am going to clean my sink and get it all shined up. I really enjoy shining my sink. I don't know why, it just is relaxing, and when I'm done, it makes me happy. So I'm just gonna start by cleaning that little drying rack, get it dried off, and then I'm going to just use my little scrub brush and scrub all the sides, all the way up. And I'm also gonna go ahead and do around the faucet and stuff. I'm being really careful though, remember, because this sink is not actually fixed down, so I have to be very careful not to get a lot of water underneath that sink. So I'm being very careful to not, you know, mess that up right now. And I'm just gonna give it a good rinse, get all those soap bubbles down, and it's gonna be all beautiful and clean. And I always like to take my dish towel and go ahead and dry the sink. And as I was drying it, I remembered that I was going to be filling it with water immediately anyway, so I kind of stopped doing that and was like, okay, I need to fill the sink and get my bleach out, because I have a whole bunch of our big jugs, tumblers, I don't know what the proper word is for them. Those can get smelling like mildew and get some grime on them. So always get a little bleach, put it in the sink, and get those soaking. And I'm gonna go ahead, and while that's filling up with water and doing its thing, I'm gonna get this counter cleaned up, get some of this stuff put away. I had all this stuff that I had purchased from Aldi on the counter. Our Aldi had just recently opened back up, and I had ran to the store and grabbed a few things. I haven't had a chance to get them in their proper place and container, so just threw those into the pantry area. I'll take care of those later. Gonna go ahead and clean off this drying rack, get it dried. That sink was full, so I had to take the water that was in there and dump it outside. Put that away underneath the sink. Let's go on over to where the bar area will be, and I just have some of that black sheeting for my daughter's birthday still on there. Been washing it and cleaning it. It was easier to clean that than try to clean the board that we had down. Gonna move off some of this stuff. Some of the things on here are just getting moved over to where that drying rack was, and that's all the things that we are using for the remodel, such as drills for the putting in the drawer pulls themselves, some extra brackets and that kind of thing that we're using. Also, I'm grabbing the food that I had sat out for dinner and for meal prep, because I'm working on some meal prep ideas, and I'm very excited to tell you guys about that and show you what I'm thinking, but right now it's just in the works, and I'll let you know about that later on. Gonna go ahead and give this counter a quick wipe down and move on to the stove, put away that cast iron, and clean off all these little containers. One of our little containers is a honey jar, but we use it for our oil for our cast iron. And go ahead and pull off those knobs on the stove so that we can get all the little grime off and scrub this. It has some stuck on egg there because we do egg wraps all the time, and so we constantly have little bits of eggs on the stove. Gonna go ahead and rearrange this cabinet just a little bit so that I can fit in some more of this stuff that I'm not sure where it's gonna go. For now, it's just gonna get put up into that cabinet. And we're gonna go ahead and sweep the floor. This is gonna be the last thing that I do in the kitchen here because I always like to kind of work my way down, getting all those big crumbs, all the little crumbs. We haven't got the toe kicks on yet, but that is something we are gonna be working on hopefully this week, if not next. And we are finally done with the cleanup of the kitchen.
Wow, I didn't realize how many dishes I actually had piled up in there. It was a ton, but those are all washed up, all but those tumblers. Those tumblers I'm just gonna leave to soak in that bleach water, and then I'll come back later and just really quickly get those cleaned up and put away. While I was videoing this, I got a message saying that our countertops are in, so today we're gonna go get our countertops and we're gonna hopefully get those installed, which will be awesome, and I'm so excited to see them actually in the space. So that's a huge thing that I learned while I was making this video, and I'm excited to show you guys next time that we're in the kitchen. I hope you guys like this video, and I hope that you are motivated and ready to go clean something, or maybe you cleaned along with me. That's great. I hope you like this video, and I'll see you next time.